So first of all, those that aren't using AI at their work will be left behind. The result was that Nvidia lost 600 billion in the market cap in one day. Use Cursor IDE for programming. This is a very advanced text editor for code. I also use PyCharm with GitHub CoPilot, which is a programming tool, similar, but in another editor. For searching the internet, I almost don't use Google. I started to use DeepSeek, and it is really good for this. It checked 49 pages to compose a really good answer.
You can create different profiles and with different styles. Like, for example, I'm a consultant in a tight suit. Respond in an official, polite, kind way to this email. And then I'm writing very tight suit, okay? And then I'm like, this is me when I'm myself and I have my sense of humor. This is me, this is my style. Please write this in this style with my sense of humor, not yours. Hello everyone, welcome to the Agile State of Mind, another podcast episode. I'm Maria Czech and this is Jan Count, Jan Czech, as you see, the same last name. Jan is my brother and the backend lead, and today we're going to talk about AI. Hello. How are you?
Hello, and that's right. Nice to be here again.
Exactly. It's the second episode. Previously, we have been talking about tech lead, engineering managers, backend leads, all the role. And today, we will talk about AI because we can't escape AI and using AI in today's world. And I know that you are passionate about the subject and about tech, and you know more than I do. So I thought I'm probably not the only one who has some doubts. So I decided to do like 101 AI. What do you need to know about AI to survive in today's world, and especially as us who work in technology? So my first question will be, let's start from this DeepSeek. I don't love the name, but it is what it is. So the Chinese AI that suddenly popped up and it made a huge fuss. What's all about it? Could you explain?
Yeah, the deepest of seeks. So let me explain the situation that was like 2 weeks ago. Everyone thought that if you want to have a really great AI, especially LLM, I can get back to what is LLM later, then you have to train it on a huge set of data, have a lot of graphics cards, give a lot of energy to those graphics cards, and for a long time. So
and the
cost,
chips, right?
Again?
We know all about like Nvidia chips.
Yeah, because they are the leaders when it comes to computation that is necessary for this. Yeah, there are shortages of those because many people want to get their hands on another and another and another batch. Yeah, so they have a lot of money and a lot of people are investing in Nvidia because everyone sees that, okay, they will have a lot more demand in the future as well. This is why this is a good investment. AI, you need to have those graphics cards that have, they're like multiple processors in one place, so they can calculate many things in parallel at the same time. So we had that situation, and we had companies that had those AIs like ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on. And most of them were so-called closed source, so nobody knew what they are inside except for the company. So you couldn't just take ChatGPT and make your own because you would have to steal from that company. So that wasn't on the table, and there were exceptions like Olama from Meta, but they aren't as good as the competition that pours those hundreds of millions or even billions into training those. So that's how it was before. And then suddenly there is this small startup from China released DeepSeek R1. this is AI model, so an AI that has 10 to 30 times less energy consumption. It was trained only on a small set of graphics cards, and it took about 6 million to train it in comparison to hundreds of millions. And the performance was in many benchmarks better than the best one around, the from OpenAI. So the creators of ChatGPT. You can use O1 in ChatGPT. So, okay, they made it so low cost, released the app for free for everyone that everyone can use basically without limits, and also released the whole model for free as open source. So everyone can take a look, can download it and run locally, so that if you are afraid that, okay, I don't want to give my data to China, who knows if they are analyzing it or not? Nobody knows. So if you don't want that dilemma, you can simply download it yourself and put it on a performant computer, and it will do the same thing. So the result of this was that people suddenly saw that, okay, you can bring something that is as good, sometimes better, than the best performing competition at low cost. So the result was that Nvidia lost 600 billion in the market cap in one day. It was
exactly
the
that was
biggest
the
loss in the history of the US market.
So all the people that you explained that at the beginning were like betting, I need to buy those chips just in case, even though I don't need them right now. So not only those that really needed them, but people like, okay, in the future, we need the chips. They might be sold out later. So we just buy. And now suddenly they are like, maybe you don't need this many. Like maybe you can do it cheaper.
So the demand was so high that only people that really need it got them, because there aren't that many. And now it's like, okay, maybe this will change in the future. Maybe people will start doing things even smarter so that we don't have to have so much computation power on our side to train this. However, this also shows that many investors are scaredy cats, and whenever something happens, they just run away.
Yeah, that's true as well.
So,
it's fun. So now we should basically buy the stock of Nvidia. It's low, so now it's time to buy. Right?
Probably a good idea, yes.
Yeah.
Because the demand will be definitely still there for a long, long time. So this is guaranteed.
No escaping that.
Unless there is a very good competitor, and there are things cooking that there might be, but still Nvidia has the biggest capacity to deliver new graphics cards. So this is a safe bet for a long time.
Okay, so just to summarize what you said. So basically what happened was that those previous, like OpenAI, Gemini from Google, and all those language models, they were developed in a very high cost, and they were all closed sourced as opposite to open source, right? We know open source that you can like really get the code from it and really use it yourself, and
that's right,
call the APIs. And here it was all closed. You couldn't see what's inside. It's like privately owned, right?
That's right.
And that's why it was such a big deal when suddenly a Chinese company comes and says, hey, we can do this so much cheaper. Now, given that China doesn't have maybe the best reputation when it comes to like copyrights and all that stuff, which already is a big topic and controversy over ChatGPT and other models. Is it possible that they just use something that AI like ChatGPT and OpenAI already developed, and they just like learned on somebody else's findings, and that's why it was so fast?
Yeah, it is possible, but nobody knows. So OpenAI have taken a look into what was there, which isn't as straightforward, because the AI model is just a set of data. It's like you opened an Excel file and you see numbers and numbers and numbers, and nothing else. It's not as easy as some code written by a human or written by AI. It's not as easy as you could analyze some code. So, but they have investigated it, and they reported that, hey, they are using many of the ideas that we had, and they were hard-won ideas. So what happened? So on the one side, you can say, okay, this is a clear indication that something was wrong. However, we have in the history many examples where something was invented at the same time in multiple places, like telephony or a light bulb. So then they complain that, hey, they for sure stole from us. Nobody knows.
Okay, yeah, it's hard, right? We progressing, and obviously we will learn from others and from others' inventions. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the concepts and understand the concepts, because we talk about this Gen AI and LLM. You mentioned that previously. What those mean? So let's maybe start from Gen AI. What is?
All right, so Gen AI is generative AI. So as the name could suggest, this is used to create new content like text or images. So when you go to ChatGPT, this is creating text for you, because you give it some text and it returns text. It generates text. So generative AI. And the large language model is generative AI that is used for just text. So a vast amount of data of texts was given to it to learn that, okay, some texts should result in other texts. And the difference between doing this with large language model and just some small model is that first on how much data it was trained and what we can actually get from it back. Because AI like this was tens of years ago even present, but the difference is that now we can see how we can push it, and we are pushing even harder, because only after a certain point, certain amount of data and certain size of such an AI, some things became possible, like to generate something that looks pretty much human and not something that you can see, okay, this is obviously a bot. Still, we can detect whether something was generated by AI. There are AI for this, but you can sometimes see that, okay, if someone is using this large hyphen, then probably they are using AI. or reply in a specific way. It's sometimes seen.
Wow.
I get emails like this that, hey, come to this and that. All right, I see that this is generated by AI. I will use AI to reply to it.
Okay.
And AI
Right.
are fucking.
Yeah, this is the problem now, that we now see so much. For example, LinkedIn got like really bad. Like the quality of the content on LinkedIn got really deteriorated because people started using so much AI that you don't know anymore. And you can see so many people like fed up and frustrated, because it used to be great community and we shared a lot of thoughts that were like human thoughts, and now it's generative AI thoughts. And also I can see that when I use, ChatGPT, and I ask it always, because I'm like, for me, sense of humor is very important. So I will always ask it to be like Jeremy Clarkson in Top Gear and be funny. And then it will start being these jokes that you are like, I will never say that. I would never use those jokes. And then I can already see sometimes on other people's text the same kind of jokes. And I'm like, oh, this is not Jeremy Clarkson. This is AI. This is ChatGPT sense of humor,
Yeah, actually, this is interesting because I believe that in the future we will have like some AIs will be like stars currently, that the characteristics that they speak to you and how they do things. This is actually starting because the Access Grok was supposed to be like tongue-in-cheek and a bit rude, but still I think that we will have this, especially for art and things like that, that there will be big AI that do things in a specific way, so okay, this is the style of that AI.
Okay. But that's also something I wanted to ask, because I read and watched a lot about the ability to create like profiles in AI. So you use ChatGPT, but well, there also obviously is not only ChatGPT, we'll also talk about this, but that you can create like different profiles and with different styles. Like this is me responding to, like for example, I'm a consultant in a tight suit, respond in a official, polite, kind way to this email. And then I'm writing very tight suit, okay? And then I'm like, this is me when I'm myself and I have my sense of humor, and I will feed that ChatGPT or whatever I use with my text that I wrote myself. And this is me, this is my style. Please write this in this style with my sense of humor, not yours. So do you do that? Do you use that?
So everyone can use something like this, not as tailored to the purpose when using AI like ChatGPT. You can give this as the first instruction that for this chat, for whatever I ask you about, reply in this particular way. And you can even ask it to analyze what way you mean to be for sure on the same page. However, when you want to push this concept even further, you need AI that is actually not only treating this as instruction, but also trained on what you are producing. And this is slowly emerging. I'm not using something like this, prefer the easy first way and actually write myself things. Only consult, brainstorm, and so on. But this is definitely something that will be more and more common. So this is also used when you have those chatbots that are actually underneath, depending on some popular model. One of the first instruction, the prompt given to such model is that your name is this and that, and you are this tight suit gentleman that is very helpful, but won't say anything about this and that topic and only keeps to the topic that is given by the company. So you can do something like this already, and many companies are doing it exactly this way.
Okay, so you can do both, like just have prompts and open a new chat, have a prompt, tell it what it is, and then it replies in this sense. And sometimes you can even, what works as well is like you see something that a style you want to use, so you can maybe paste it there and say reply in this style or analyze this style. It will, as you say, and I think that was a useful tip for me when you said just tell it to analyze the style, and then it will put the words like, oh, this is funny and this is cheeky and smart, but with a sense of humor, whatever adjectives it will give you, you put them back. And this way you can also learn to use it better, right? And not just, hey, I have this email, reply back, or like, right? So we can really model the way it will respond. And then the other way would be to just create those profiles where you are, because I heard about those people that create like an alter ego of themselves, and then suddenly it can reply to you in your own way, which might be cool, but it's also so scary for me when I think about it. Well, okay. So we have covered a little bit you explained the GenAI and LLM. What else do we have there? Because, on this Nvidia slide that everybody shows, we have right now in this generative AI, and then it's getting to agentic. Is that something that we already are in? Is it a future? What does it mean?
So agents, this is a concept from computer science. Agents are, well, they have their agenda. These are autonomous beings that have some goals of themselves, and you better hope that these are the same as your goals, because if they aren't, You may be surprised. So the difference here is that they have some goals and they plan ahead and they actually do actions to achieve those goals. Imagine that you want to go on a trip to Hawaii. So you tell your AI, hey, I want to go on a trip to Hawaii like for maybe a week or two. And okay, this is the goal that your agent has now. And then it tries to plan. It asks itself, what time should that trip be? So let's check the calendar of that person. Okay, they have some free time in 6 weeks. Okay, now then this agent asks you, hey, will this work for you? You have some more free time in 6 weeks. Take a look at this calendar. And you say, okay, looks good, go for it. All right. And now this agent analyzes, okay, so now I have to see what are the options for the stay, for what to do there, and for the tickets.
So it can do all that without you even asking for it. You just say, I want to go to Hawaii.
Yes. And now what people are working on is that such agents are actually clicking on your device. So you can see how they are browsing.
No.
This will be horrible. Unless I really know that this won't make any mess, like for tickets for family and friends, because I often travel with family and friends, but this time I wanted a solo trip. I forgot to say that. And if it already books it, or books without confirming with other people that are involved, that would be a mess. So we will have to be first very careful about what actually can such an agent do. And also people will have a long time adjusting to the fact that it can actually do something on your device and it won't make a mess. Or maybe it will.
Okay.
But actually, we have something like this, but not agentic, but it can do already some actions in LLMs that we have. Because, for example, you have multiple GPTs, so-called, in ChatGPT, and they serve multiple purposes. Like some of them have instructions like you just mentioned that, okay, you are this funny or stiff guy, and so on, reply about this topic. But some of them have capacity to connect with other services and do something there. For example, I used one for Spotify and asked it, okay, generate me a playlist for tracks that are similar to this one. So it used ChatGPT to figure out what are the similar ones, and then created me a playlist. It first
in Spotify.
It first had to ask for permission from Spotify to act in my name, but then it could manage my playlists, and I could ask it for some things.
Was it any good, that playlist?
Not really. Especially because after two or three questions, I had to pay, and the price was steep. Actually,
But
this is one of the things that we can...
To ChatGPT or to Spotify?
No, I had to pay to this third-party company that made this GPT.
Okay.
So that they do things for me.
Oh, right. Okay, so those
are earning on those custom GPTs. So
they create kind of agentic GPTs out of ChatGPT.
I wouldn't call it that. The part of actually doing something with the other world was there. It was actually also possible in the ChatGPT, but because you have image generation, you can ask it to generate an image, and it actually uses some other tool. It's called DALL-E to generate that image. Yeah, this is this part, but imagine that it, for example, knows your habits and acts even without asking. So, for example, it knows that you're waking up at 8, so it will start, for example, your computer and all programs just before that.
Put the heating on for me.
For example, yeah. But still,
and the coffee on.
Yeah, we will have to make sure that we really can control. We don't lose the control on this, because it can very easily go wrong. You can ask people who are having smart homes that, okay, for my normal day, it is perfect. I'm just entering the bathroom and the lights turns on. But then there are guests and suddenly everything is wrong. Because, for example, some things depend on your phone to be present in that room, and the phone is not present.
Well, and then we have those variabilities. We are on vacation, we are sick, we don't want the same habits and the same things to happen. It happens to me, you know, I have my Alexa and it's so stupid compared, sorry Alexa, okay, but it's so stupid compared to any ChatGPT. I hope they will now like make it updated a bit, because you cannot really, if it's a bit more complex prompt, she will be lost. But then I have some like you can do, it's called like, I don't know how it's called, but you just create kind of a action and reaction. So I have it for my son. So at least for example, at 9 o'clock, it will tell him, hey, it's already 9, so you should be getting to bed. And sometimes it's great because you're watching something or you're eating and you lost the track of time and it's 9 already. And then he's always like, to like, so that we don't hear it. And it's like, no, she didn't say anything. It's not 9. But then, you know, my friends come over and I'm not here, and it tells them that, right? Because it doesn't know I'm away. It doesn't know my calendar. And then it would read all my calendar events. And sometimes we'll be like, come on, stop. Especially if it's like, if I have them twice in my calendar, the same event, it won't be smart enough to only read it once. So yeah, it can get very wrong. So this is already scary. For me, it's very scary. Like, I'm afraid of this future that we will just be surrounded by AI, and people already feel very lonely, already feel very disconnected from each other. You know, apparently young people prefer to be on TikTok than go out. Like, what did we do in the evenings? We were going out to parties or seeing friends or just hanging out. And now they're hanging out with their phone on TikTok. That's already a bad habit. And now we are creating all this. And so I'm afraid. But let's finish that line. So on that slide, and I will show it here, we have generative AI, we have agentic AI, which we understand already that it can do some actions for you somewhere else out of the chat itself. And then we have physical AI, which is basically the robots, right?
That's
and
right.
We see those popping up, self-driving cars and the general robots that just come and are with you, present. It's a being walking. So it's very scary for me. Anyway, I would like to just talk about that there's not only ChatGPT, because we all know ChatGPT was the first one, everybody's aware. But then my friend came and she told me, I'll use Claude whatever, I will write it later. I can spell. So Claude AI, and I started feeding it stuff because I kind of didn't know that you can even I wrote this PDF. Could you summarize it to me, right? And you just feed it the things, and then you can talk about it and say how would you say, what are the 5 most important topic in it? Or how would you summarize it? What is the takeaway that I should take from what I just fed you, right? And I found that using Claude was actually, I didn't have all those maybe I didn't ask for jokes, but I didn't have the stiff replies that ChatGPT sometimes will give. And I really like it. It invites you to continue talking. And I think ChatGPT started doing that right now after maybe Claude did that, because they are like, would you like me to explain one of the points? Is there anything else that I can do for you? That is more a person really behind it. It feels very weird, but I liked it quite a lot, and I'm using it now. What are the other models and other AIs that we have there?
So about this talking first. So have you tried to talk with ChatGPT?
Yes, I tried. Oh my God. For Christmas, did you know that they had the voice? I don't know who's the voice, but it was like, hey, ho, 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 I'm the Santa, and I will now talk to you as if I'm the Santa. And it was just a voice of the Santa. And I'm like, okay, let's chat. Tell me that. And we had a dialogue, and it was like, oh my God, I'm talking to something.
Yeah, but it can ask you questions as well, follow up on what it was talking about. And I find it so distracting because I'm thinking about something and I want to, without writing, just talk while doing something else, doing some chores, for example. I want to consult about this or ask. And then it asks me a follow-up question that totally breaks my breaks my chain of thought.
And what do? Do you reply or do you just continue your own train of thought?
I try to ignore. However, this is not a good habit to have, ignoring other person's question.
But that also can create, people are less polite, right? It's like, imagine we are both Polish. We don't have much of like news of, could you please be so kind, maybe perhaps to help me here? Like, help me. That's what we say. So, especially in English, it's hard for me to learn this. Could you please, perhaps, be so kind and please, And when I talk to ChatGPT, I can be myself and just say, "Help me here, do this, do that," and then you are starting to be this kind of like orders. And who knows? Maybe they will turn on us one day and start giving us the orders in the same way, So I'm a bit afraid of that. Like, oh, you treated me like this. Now you will see.
I wouldn't be that afraid of it. However, definitely there will be time in everyone's life when you are skewed in this way to be just super quick and not care about anything, punctuation, being polite, anything. But then people will learn that, okay, this is the mode that I'm in when talking with AI, and I have another mode with talking with people. But still, we can expect that teenagers will have this problem at some point.
Well, if they even learn to be polite in the first place, ever, right? Let's finish first about the different chats. So what are the others? We said ChatGPT, Claude. You said
Gemini.
that DALL-E and Gemini. Is that something that will be? Why don't I have something by my Gmail?
Gemini is working in the Gmail now. It recently started in Poland. I'm not sure about Spain.
I see it, but I always use everything in English anyway. So okay, because it's grayed out. I never even hover over, and now I hovered over. And I thought probably it's not there because I felt, like in the corporations. So in my company, I think we mentioned that soon there will be some help from like Gemini because we use G Suite. So maybe that will also be helpful because in the end, it's like, how do you want to be working in tech and not have this as part of your job? We will be out of jobs if we don't. So, okay. So I can also use Gemini.
Yeah. However, you have to enter a paid plan to have this integration. Maybe this will change in the future, but currently it works like this. Still, you can evaluate it for a month without paying. And you are getting like also 2 terabytes of space there as well. So it's not a bad deal.
Okay, so I was just called by a chatbot in Spanish. I had like 7 calls, and I was just doing like skip, and it wouldn't stop. And then it's like, hola, quiero hablar contigo. It's a robot calling me. So that's actually very good timing for this, but that's what is happening. I don't want that.
Yeah, I think that many companies are overusing it now. We have a big AI hype now. Many people are trying to use it where it doesn't fit well or probably won't fit ever. So, for example, someone came to the drive-through in McDonald's and a robot is asking for the order, and they say, 10,000 shakes, 10,000 cheeseburgers, 10,000. And suddenly the person, hello.
Okay, that's a quick way to get a person to talk to you. That's a good
Yeah,
tip.
yeah, but I think that okay, there is place for this, especially when it comes to searching some documentation and so on. This is a very big help
Mhm.
potentially, but if it tries to completely replace a human, then it turns out that okay, it's not as capable as a human can be.
Exactly. So that's the positive side of the that we are still far from humans from taking over all the work, and especially in my case when I'm an agile coach and a person that's like a glue roll, I call it. It's like a glue roll. I help people collaborate, bring them together, break the silos, intervene only when I see necessary, help them to collaborate and understand everything is working. And it's really hard to do this part that by another person. So I still believe my work is there to be held, but maybe not so many glue roles you need anymore. What about the coders? Like, we listened to this podcast recently and they were saying, would you put your kid in a coding class now? Because if you think about the kid, in 20 years, when they are older, will they use that? Or in 10 years, I don't know, when kids will go to work. But would you? Why would you? Like, do you need to really learn the code or do you need to just learn the logic and stuff, how it works?
So definitely low complexity work with very specific application will be replaced because it is happening now. I use Cursor IDE for programming. This is a very advanced text editor for code, but it has AI so integrated that it knows what you have there. You can give, okay, this file and that file as a context, but then you can give it instruction that, okay, I want to change this and that, and this will do it for you, show it in your code for accepting or not.
Mm-hmm.
And also there is agentic also way of interacting, so they can even start a terminal, so a Linux console, and do something there if it's necessary. So this is happening now. However, the main bottleneck for AI will be this complexity. If you maybe recall from high school about from mathematics logic, when it comes to like something is true, something is false, will the result of and be true or false? There were tables like this, and you had this like, okay, if this is true and this is true, then the response is that. And if this is true and this is false, so there are 4 possible options here for 2 values that
Variables.
could be true or false. For 3, there are 9, because this is like 2 to the power of the number of variables that you have.
Exponential.
Yeah, and this is exponential, and this is the same thing that is happening for computation for AI, because the more things you have to keep in mind at the same time, the more complex it gets, and it gets complex exponentially. There are so-called heuristics to not calculate the best possible solution, but to be pretty close with much less cost. And I think that this is something that will happen in AI mostly in the future. However, what we are seeing even now is that the models aren't getting significantly better. The ChatGPT from 2 years ago is better. It is better, but the progress is getting slower. People are also seeing that, okay, if we want to, for example, have a better model for coding, we have to cut other things out, train more on coding, on how to write it well, and so on. So the AI is not getting as better in a way of computation complexity that it can handle. And it is very visible when you are programming that if you give it complex enough problem, and I do this daily, this will not be able to handle it.
So you split the complexity into like more, you simplify it for it.
Even if I simplify it for it, if I give too many things to do at the same time, like I have a problem and it has so many sub-problems that I have to handle all of them in some way. I have to make some compromises in multiple problems. Then what it will do, it will take some of those problems and only tackle them, forgetting about the other problems.
And then what do? Do you still use it, or you sometimes prefer to just do it yourself?
So in such a case, I often ask about possibilities for each of those subproblems, and I do the computation myself in my brain. So I pick the best solution there. However, I kind of gave up in case of pure programming, because it is super great when you have something small, very specific, and it's not super complex. So it can give you, like, in 5 minutes of your writing, the specification, what it should be, you can get something that you would otherwise work on for 2 hours. So this is a huge speed up, but only for those specific things. But when you want to tie them up together, this is something that is completely out of performance now. And unless it really starts learning on your code base, learning on how you work in the company, this won't get better.
But do you think it won't? There are so many of those. Like, it will, if not ChatGPT or whatever you're using, there's this CoPilot and all the other stuff. Some of them.
I'm using multiple. So coming back to the question, what are possibilities? I'm using this Cursor IDE, and it can use underneath multiple different models. It can use OpenAI models. I'm actually using Claude, like you said, because Claude is better for programming. And 3.5. It is better right now for programming. And it works pretty fast as well. So I'm using this, and actually I think everyone in my company also uses it if they are using Cursor IDE. I also use PyCharm with GitHub CoPilot, which is a programming tool, similar, but in another editor. So I use it for different purposes. It's not as good, but I prefer PyCharm for many things. So but for example, knowledge exploration, when I want to know something that is well known, so LLMs are very good for this when you are asking about, I don't know, sleep patterns or diet advice. There is a lot of advice on which they were trained on, so the advice is pretty good. So for this, I mostly use ChatGPT, but for the reason that I'm simply used to for years now, and I'm paying for it. So I'm hesitant to start paying basically the same price for something else, because sometimes it is better. Still, for searching the internet for things, I almost don't use Google. I started to use DeepSeek, and it is really good for this. For example, I asked DeepSeek, how can I run DeepSeek on my machine? And I would like to have a graphical interface for this. It checked 49 pages to compose a really good answer. So I wouldn't check 49 pages, no way. And also, for a long time, there was also Perplexity, and it is still, but it checked like 6 pages for you, and you had to pay for this, and the results were, I would rather reach to those pages and read them myself, because it was pretty poor. However, they upgraded it recently to use DeepSeek R1, but they're still making a slightly worse work than DeepSeek, because they are trying to break your search into steps first, and those steps don't interact with one another well. I also really like how it shows you how it thinks, which is also visible in ChatGPT with Gemini, but it really writes to you like an expert, trying to figure out your query and answering you the best way. And it is visible by default. So when waiting for the answer, you can see this. And you can see, okay, it misinterpreted my word, so I better stop it and rewrite this.
And where do you see it? What is it? Is it code? You see the code, or what do you
Now,
see?
you see that something like this. Okay, so the user wants to see how to run DeepSeek R1 LLM on their own machine.
Okay,
They
so it
have
kind of
this
paraphrases what you asked and what they will
yeah, and
search for.
what they plan to do about this, and then how they refine their answer, and so on, in a very natural way. So I think that this is very good for people who are kind of like now stopping to think when they ask something of AI, because here you have how expert thinks, and if you read it enough, you will learn this thought process. And this is a really good thought process. I recommend you take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't tried DeepSeek really. I was on the verge of trying it and I forgot, and I need
Yeah,
to.
it's
Yeah.
hard now because often it is overloaded because it is for free. All capabilities are for free. Actually, ChatGPT released the new models also for free for everyone, so you can take a look at those as well. But it is very often overloaded. I even wrote myself a script to automatically retry if it is overloaded every 3 minutes, because sometimes I don't need the answer right away, but I want to have the answer from this AI. But yeah,
All right.
so one of the cases that I use it for, except for knowledge exploration itself, is that I have some chats that have those special instructions at the start that for my every message reply in this, and that way. And one of the examples is language learning. For example, I'm learning Japanese, and there are kanji that are these Chinese letters. They were actually Chinese a long time ago. So I also have a separate instruction for sentences. For kanji, don't break into words, but explain meanings and show possible structures, that possible words that use it. But for sentences, it is different, like I described before. And if I don't write kanji for a long time, it forgets that there are separate instructions for it. But if I go just back and edit one of the previous answers to start a new thread, this will remember again. So
Wow, I didn't know I can go back and edit.
yeah,
Again.
this is very useful, especially if you are giving this initial instruction. But some bad news here. Recently, ChatGPT disallows from editing the first message. Why?
Okay.
Don't ask me. This is pointless from my point of view, but for sure they have some reason.
So we had spent quite a lot of time talking about it, and it seems like a rabbit hole, right? Once you start, there's no ending, and it's like a conversation with ChatGPT that you are you want to keep on going because it gives you all those answers so easily. So what would you say for the closing note? Do you have any thoughts just to leave the thinking about this AI 101, what we should focus on, anything you want to say before we finish?
Yeah, so first of all, those that aren't using AI at their work will be left behind. So you have to use whatever is useful for you at your work, because I expect that in the future we will have much more focus on leadership, because you will have your set of people, artificial
The
people
hybrid
that
teams,
can
right?
work for you. But
Yeah.
you need to have many of the traits of a leader and some of manager to do it effectively. So the importance of this will rise, like how to effectively delegate. You will have to learn
Oh,
this. Yeah.
so everybody will be a manager. That's a plus. You just have to get
More
the
of a
knowledge
leader,
because
actually, because
okay,
managers will. This is
disappear.
one of the place where it will be probably a big place for AI to shine. Management, like middle management. But when it comes to leadership, like setting goals, how it should be achieved, and so on, this will be something that for humans.
Okay. Sure.
As well, if you're even an expert like in in, for example, programming, then still what you will be doing is to give a more high-level instructions, like you can do like in this cursor IDE, that okay, do this and that, and I only verify after that if this worked well, because the complexity that you would have and amount of information you would have to give to your AI to be able to know everything around your company, how and why you are doing things, and actually apply this. Because you can write all of this, but it will be way too complex for AI. So
still some human navigation or like guidance is needed.
Definitely. And in the future, we will be able to even train AI to do that. However, the cost will be significantly more, and probably it will be cheaper to still employ humans.
Okay, some good news.
This, yeah. So this is one thing. Another, czekam.
Ja naprawdę muszę zaraz wyjść, więc...
Dobra, ja też już skończę. Another is that we don't have to worry that we will have this kind of progress going on as we
potential, like suddenly the curve will be vertical?
Yeah, because every process like this is flattening out. It's called a sigmoidal function. And here we will have that, okay, maybe even they will be able to simulate something like a human, but this will require such huge amount of computation that nobody will run this in like a robot or something like that. So I wouldn't worry about this. And also, I think that this progress will slow down because we need to find other ways to work around the problems that this exponential energy consumption is necessary for doing things like humans do.
Yeah, energy and water to cool it down later, right? So this is also a climate and sustainability issue, not only the progress can go infinite because we will lose resources. So yeah, that's also another topic that's very interesting, but we don't have time for today. So thank you so much. It was very interesting. I think I learned a lot, and I will try and start applying, because I understand that it's like we have to embrace it, share the ways how we use it with each other, not fake that, hey, suddenly I got smarter 10 times overnight. I use it and I can share with others so we can all keep the place of work and like make the most of it instead of just get bypassed by others who do this. So there is the hoping, and you are much more positive, I would say. You see brighter future. I am a bit scared. But that's great. That's good to have two different opinions. So thank you so much. And let's see, maybe we can talk about more things in the future episodes.
You and everyone, have a great day. See you.
Thank you. Bye.